Good afternoon. This 19th meeting of the 73rd term of the Baltimore City Council is now called to order. Members of the council, due to us being meeting virtually based off of COVID-19, make sure you hear yourself recognized for you have the floor. And once I recognize you, please state your name and then begin to speak. Tonight's invocation will be delivered by Reverend Christopher Brown of Canine Baptist Church of Baltimore. Reverend Brown, thank you for joining us. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much, City Council President, and to all of you. Let us pray. Father, we come this evening as we enter into this session, and we want to be intentional tonight. Before we ask you for anything, Father, we want to thank you for everything. We want to thank you for your keeping power and your healing hand. We want to thank you, oh God, for calling all of us to serve such a great city, calling all of us to serve for such a time as this. Now, Father, I pray as we go into this session and as these leaders, oh God, that you've called to this city, I pray, Father, that you would guide us by your hand, by your wisdom, and by your knowledge. I pray, Father, that you would guide every decision that will impact and affect this city, both current and in the future. Father, I pray, secondly, for your healing hand. I pray for healing across this great city. I pray for healing on the north side. I pray for healing in South Baltimore. Pray for healing on the west side and even on the east side. I pray for healing, oh God, in every city, oh God, every area, every block, every corner. Pray for healing with every business, every school, oh God. I pray for healing even in the courtroom. I pray for healing, oh God, in the prison. Pray for healing even in our school systems. Lord, we need you even now. Father, we ask all of these things and we trust you. We trust you even now. In the name of the Father, and in the name of the Son, and in the name of the Holy Spirit, we pray. Amen, amen, and amen.
Amen. Thank you so much, Reverend Brown, for joining us this week. We look forward to you participating in future council hearings. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Now, council, and to the general public, we will state the Pledge of Allegiance. I get to get up and turn to the flag every week. Hopefully you guys have a flag on your computer or in your offices. Next up, we have on our showcase, we actually have two brief showcase presentations tonight. First, it'll be my pleasure to introduce Bradley and Nicki Bozeman. They had an opportunity to come out to City Hall about 3 or 4 months ago where we actually presented them with a City Council resolution. Their work has been shown not only in the city of Baltimore throughout the state of Maryland, but also nationally, as Bradley and Nicki have gotten a lot of national attention around their giving hearts. Through Bradley and Nicki Bozeman Foundation, they've been doing great work in the region, working on issues around food insecurity as well as ending childhood bullying. Mr. and Mrs. Bozeman join us on the invitation of Chairman Schleifer, and I'll turn the floor over to them at this point. The Bozemans, the floor is yours. We can't hear you. You're still on mute. There we go.
Okay, sorry about that.
There we go.
So, council members, thank you all so much for having us. I'm Bradley Bozeman. This is my wife, Nicki Bozeman. Just want to thank you all for letting us come out and talk. Special thank you to Council Member Schleifer for letting us come and talk on behalf of the ITSE's resolution to make October Anti-Bullying Month. So, we're really excited about it. Think it's amazing. We've been able to have some really strong ties to bullying. Just to give you guys a little background on who we are. So I'm Bradley Bozeman. I play for the Baltimore Ravens. I'm the center. Most of you know that. But the biggest thing is in 2018, we started the Bradley and Nicki Bozeman Foundation, and where we focused on at-risk kids for bullying. We were asked to come out and speak to this little girl, and she was being bullied simply because of her race. She was smart, she was athletic, she was beautiful, She was everything that you would want your kid to be. The simple reason she was being bullied was because of her race. We got down there and we were just going to talk just to the girl and to the boys that were bullying her. And then we got down there and the principal goes, would you mind talking to the entire school? So we said, sure, we'll do it. I wasn't a public speaker at the time. Nicki was, so she agreed automatically. And so we got in there, we started talking to these kids, and emotions started flowing. We didn't know what we were going to talk about. Emotions started flowing, and just the words were coming to us, and these kids were sharing their stories and experiences to two complete strangers. Fast forward 5 years, we've spoken to over 100,000 students. We've been cross country. We've been from Maryland to California and back, talking to these kids. And when we first started that journey, we were really scared that we're going to have to change our message. Our message was going to have to shift from one school to the other, whether it was rich or poor or big or small, rural or very populated, whatever it was, we were going to have to change our message. But the biggest thing that we found was that all these kids, every single one of them had the exact same problems. Every one of them. I mean, it was verbatim, school after school after school. These kids sharing their stories, talking about their issues, going through all the things that they face, not feeling safe in their environment, feeling that that they didn't have anyone to turn to, and it broke our hearts. Like it really did. It opened our eyes so vastly to the huge issue that this actually is. We always opened up the floor to kids at the end of our assemblies, and we let them share their stories. And we talked from 30 minutes to 3 hours after the session is ended. And you're talking about 11, 12, 13, 14-year-old kids talking about committing suicide in their life. I mean, at the moment where, they should be free to the wind, they should have no worries at all. These kids are talking about ending their lives because they simply cannot handle it anymore. I mean, even when I was growing up, I'm only 27, and, I went to school and kids were able to pick on me from 8 o'clock to 3 o'clock, and then I went home and I went to my safe space. These days, kids have no escape. There's no escape. It's on their telephones. It's on at school. It's on their video games. It's everywhere they turn. They wake up to it. They go to sleep to it. And the pressing issue of bullying is so massive. I know a lot of people blow it off. It's like, oh, it's just kids being kids. But it's going so far past that now with social media and the extent of the reach that these kids have, creating fake accounts, just doing all these things just to make themselves feel better. And it's so vast. And, we want to do everything that we possibly can to stand up to it, to make sure these kids know that they're not alone. Like we're in the fight with them, know that they're safe, know that they're wanted, know that they're, they are who they are, but for a reason. And that's where we stand with it. We have been so blessed to be able to go, and talk to all these kids, and just the ability to have that and to speak, and to really listen to these young people, the future of America. It is just was so astounding just to hear all of their stories.
And I think just to add on to what he was saying, it's kind of like you don't really see it until you see it. So you go to these schools and it's right in front of you. There's kids talking about their own personal stories. So it's such a big impact, not only to us because, we've been through it. And that was something that, was a hardship for us at the beginning of life, but also to see that it's going on and it's getting worse. So just to kind of reiterate his points, as far as going cross country and talking to kids, we thought we'd go to the inner city of Dallas and it was going to be different than we were going to have to talk to a school in the middle of Winnemucca, Nevada. So, but it wasn't. These kids all have these same issues, whether it's bullying online, in person, and what it may be. So it's so important, and it's going on right in our backyards. And so it's super important to us, but really to these kids, to give them an outlet and give them somewhere where they feel safe to go and to turn to and to talk about these issues. So just again, thank you for you guys having us, listening to our story, and our support in this proclamation.
Well, Bradley and Nick, from the bottom of our hearts, thank you so much for utilizing your platform and really pouring into the future generations of folks that look up to you. Taking your leadership and pancaking folks on the field to off the field and pancaking this thing called bullying. So we really, really appreciate it. It's easy to tell when we speak to you guys that this is not some promotion or publicity stunt, that you guys really, really believe in this work. And you are a treasure to the citizens of Baltimore, who not only cheer you on the field, both of you, because we know you are just as important, Nicki, off the field. But as we're cheering you on the field, we're also thankful for all the hard work that both of you do off the field.
Thank you very much. And thank y'all so much for having us. We really appreciate your time.
No, thank you. We look forward to, once everything open up, to seeing you back at City Hall again.
Absolutely.
To Chairman Schleifer, thank you so much for being creative and connecting with Bradley and Nicki and bringing them out today.
Thank you. And thank you both for joining us today. It means a lot.
Next up, I'm pleased to recognize Mr. David Sachs. He's the Executive Director of The Leadership. The Leadership is an organization dedicated to training and connecting civic leaders. We have members of the current cohort joining us virtually tonight, and we look forward to hosting you here in City Hall again at future dates. Mr. Sachs, join us at this time to talk to members, talk to the city about what the leadership is. We know that Councilman John Bullock brought you here. He and Councilmember Ramos are both alumni of the program. So Mr. Sachs, from the bottom of our heart, welcome to the Baltimore City Council. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President, and I'm thrilled to be here. Hopefully, there are many members of the current class of the leadership program who are in attendance. This would have been our annual evening at City Hall to participate in a council meeting and hear from council members. And I'm going to try to share my screen to see if that can also help you in that regard. So can I just get a thumbs up, Mr. Council President? If you can see it, terrific, because you're the only one who I can see at the moment. So this is that group of the class of 2021. They began their journey in January of 2020, and through the pandemic, they went into a form of hibernation, and we are excited to be resuming with them as they finish off their leadership program journey. Many classes claim to be the best class ever. This class will certainly be the longest class ever, and they are wearing that badge of honor very proudly at the moment. So the leadership as an organization was founded in 1983 by the Greater Baltimore Committee as an independent nonprofit organization dedicated to promoting the vitality of Baltimore by developing and preparing a next generation of civic leaders. Today, the way we talk about our purpose is we really think that we want to help to transform Baltimore by developing and connecting those who are choosing to lead, whether you are a council member, whether you are doing the great work of the Bozemans, whether you are doing work in the private sector, the public sector, or in our many not-for-profits. We want to be able to help you to grow as a leader and to connect you with others doing work to move our city and region forward. Our flagship program, which is what most people know and to which we have many alumni, a couple of whom are, as you mentioned, members of the council at the moment, is a 10-month community leadership program. We bring together 60 participants a year. It's a diverse group of individuals who are leading across all three sectors, public, private, and non-for-profit. And as I said, they come from organizations large and small. They're a diverse group in terms of race and gender and age, and in many other characteristics. And as we say each year, we make a stew, and it's that richness of diversity which makes that a terrific experience for folks. We tackle and look at issues that are important to Baltimore in the city and across the surrounding counties. We really strive to help folks build relationships and develop their leadership competencies. Over the 38 years that we've been doing this, we have close to 1,800 alumni. We mentioned the council members who are alumni. I can also say Comptroller Henry is a proud alumni of the program, and others who are at the senior levels of city government, Chief Equity Officer Moore, Chief Ford, Commissioner Kennedy, Directors Jackson and Edwards. Director Jackson's actually right there in the back of that photo in the last row. And I am very proud to say that Director Nash is a member of that current class that is completing its journey as we speak. We are now looking to recruit and put together our class of 2022. Applications are due November 2nd. So it is that time of year when we are seeking individuals who have a commitment to Baltimore, who are demonstrated leaders, and who want to grow to be even more effective contributors to the Baltimore community. We are thinking very carefully about how we undertake what is typically a very experiential and intensive program, and it's very important around that shared experience. So we have learned a lot in the last 18 months, developed a set of safety protocols. This is the class of 2021 gathering outdoors when it was safe to do so earlier this year to resume their programming. So we're thinking very much about that. And we have certainly learned to plan for the unexpected and to be ready to adapt on a moment's notice, just as many others in this time. During the pandemic, we also took the opportunity to develop new programming. Our new Leading Now Gateway program, which launched last spring, is a 2-day skills-focused program that is really meant to help participants address today's challenges and opportunities. How do you gather a group that is very diverse and ensure that everyone in that group feels a sense of inclusion and belonging? How do you create innovative solutions to unprecedented problems while trying to promote equity within systems and come up with ways that really can move everyone forward? So that's what we've done. We felt that this was something that was needed. We've gotten a lot of terrific reaction from it. And so we're really thrilled to also now be offering this Leading Now Gateway program. To learn more about the leadership, you can go to our website. Again, it is a pleasure to be here with you. I thank you for a few moments here to just address the room. And again, welcome to the members of the class of 2021. We're thrilled to have you here at virtual City Hall this evening. And again, thanks to Councilmember Bullock and Councilmember Ramos for their participation as alumni and for hosting us this evening. Thank you very much.
No, thank you, Mr. Sachs. We appreciate you making time to address the Baltimore City Council. And folks out there in the listening world, you see the leadership.org if you're interested. I believe you're looking at your next class. You said as of November, was that right?
Well, the application's due November the 2nd, and we'll look to start that class in January of next year.
So all folks interested in Baltimore and the growth of the city and networking, please go to the leadership.org and get your applications in by November the 2nd. Thank you again, Mr. Sachs.
Thank you. Take care.
At this point, I ask the clerk to call the roll.
President Mosby, Councilmember Cohen, McCray, Dorsey, Conway, Schleifer, Middleton, Torrance, Burnett, Bullock, Porter, Costello, Stokes, Glover, Ramos. Mr. President, we have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We will now proceed to the adoption of the journal.
Mr. President, the journal of the September 20th, 2021 proceedings are on the council members' desks.
Without objection to the journal, we will adopt it. Hearing no, seeing no objections, the journal is adopted. At this point, we'll go to bills to be introduced by the mayor. They can be found beginning on page 2 of the agenda. We'll now move on to executive nominations. Clerk, please read the first nomination.
EA 21-0061, Olivia Farrow, Member, Commission on Aging and Retirement Education.
This nomination has been assigned to Rules and Oversight Committee. We will now move to bills to be introduced for first reading. Clerk, please read the first bill.
City Council Bill 21-0159, Procurement Zero Emissions Vehicles, for the purpose of converting the city fleet of vehicles, subject to certain exceptions, to zero emission vehicles, defining certain terms, authorizing rules and regulations, and generally related to the city's procurement of vehicles. Sponsors are Councilmember Conway and Dorsey.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. At this point, I would like to yield the floor to Chairman Conway. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President. This bill is the first of a series of bills that comes off the heels of the gloomy International Panel on Climate Change report that came out a few months ago, effectively saying that we have to do everything we can do now to address climate change. We as a city have an opportunity and really a responsibility to be leaders here. And I think one of the biggest and most obvious ways that we can have an impact on reducing carbon emissions as a city is to really look at our fleet. So this bill would require that we move to a 100% electronic vehicle fleet by 2040 and hit that 50% benchmark by 2030. We've had an opportunity to work, or at least have early discussions with the Department of General Services and understand that this is a feasible goal. There may be very particular considerations, but really look forward to working with my colleagues to see this through and really be a leader across the nation in meeting the new challenges that we face through climate change. So I want to thank the mayor thus far and council president for the support, and really look forward to my colleagues' support in getting this passed. Thank you.
No, thank you, Chairman Conway. At this point, are there any additional co-sponsors? I see the hand of Cohen, Burnett, Bullock, Torrance, Madam Vice President, Ramos, Porter, Glover. Did I get everyone? All right, thank you. Madam Clerk, that bill has been assigned to the Ways and Means Committee. Madam Clerk, if we can go to 21-160.
City Council Bill 21-0160, Building Code Cool Roofs for the purpose of requiring newly constructed buildings and additions to existing buildings, partly financed using city funds, to adhere to specified roofing requirements, authorizing certain exceptions, and generally relating to the installation of cool roofs. Sponsors are Councilmember Conway, Dorsey, and Porter.
At this point, I would like to recognize Chairman Conway again. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President. Want to thank you again. So this bill is the second in that series of bills, and I've got more coming. And this bill would require that all new roofs that are financed in any way, shape, or form by the city or owned by the city be cool roofs. And what that means very specifically is that they either have a reflective surface, and that can be so cheap or simple as painting that roof white, or be a green roof, which of course has better benefits for stormwater and otherwise, or be a solar roof that can of course generate energy. This has a number of benefits that we already know from long years of energy usage. It results in reducing the amount of energy that home has to use in the summer as the sun beats on this roof. Black roofs tend to have much higher energy rates. But it seems, as a low cost, no cost option, at the very least, having a lighter color or reflective roof can be a huge benefit, especially to low income communities that, as a portion of their income, spend significantly more on energy usage. So once again, I appreciate the support of my colleagues, and I really look forward to digging deep into this bill.
No, thank you, Chairman Conway. At this point, are there any additional co-sponsors? I see the hand raised of Madam Vice President, Councilman Burnett, Councilman Cohen, Councilman Bullock, Chairman Stokes, Councilwoman Ramos. Thank you. This bill has been assigned to Rules and Oversight Committee. Next up, we're going to go to 21-161, Madam Clerk.
President Mosby, Councilman Glover also had his hand raised.
I'm sorry, did I miss you, Councilman Glover?
It's all good. Thank you.
All right. Please let the record reflect Councilman Glover as a co-sponsor in 21-160. Again, that bill has been assigned to Rules and Oversight Committee. Madam Clerk, if we could go to the next bill, 21-161.
City Council Bill 21-0161, City Operations Net Zero Emissions of Greenhouse Gases for the purpose of making city operations achieve net zero emissions of greenhouse gases by 2050, defining certain terms, authorizing rules and regulations, and generally relating to the city's emission of greenhouse gases. Sponsors are Councilmember Conway, Dorsey, and Porter.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. At this point, I would like to yield the floor to Chairman Conway. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you for the third time. This is the third of a series of bills with, of course, more to come. This is an issue that I care very deeply about. And so this bill would require that the city reach net zero on greenhouse gas emissions by 2050. This would bring us up to speed with a number of other cities across the nation that have already committed to this goal. And understanding the urgency from the IPCC report, we don't have time. We can dawdle here, or we can begin to make significant moves toward reducing our carbon footprint, so that our children, my children, your children can have an opportunity to have a sustainable future. So with that, look forward to your support and to having a very deep discussion here as well. Thank you.
No, thank you, Mr. Chair. At this point, are there additional co-sponsors for 21-161? I see the hand raised of Madam Vice President Bullock, Burnett, Cohen, Ramos, Glover, and I believe that's it. Is that it? Thank you. This bill has been assigned to Health, Environment, and Technology Committee. Now on to Bill 21-162, Madam Clerk.
City Council Bill 21-0162, Urban Renewal, Brooklyn Curtis Bay Amendment for the purpose of amending the urban renewal plan for Brooklyn Curtis Bay to extend the time the urban renewal plan for Brooklyn Curtis Bay remains in full force and effect, amending the urban renewal plan for Brooklyn Curtis Bay to reauthorize the acquisition of properties within the project area and to extend the life of the plan, waiving certain content and procedural requirements, making the provisions of this ordinance severable, providing for the application of this ordinance in conjunction with certain other ordinances, and providing for a special effective date. Sponsor is Councilmember Porter.
At this point, I would like to recognize Councilwoman Porter. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President. So it's not much to say. This is just an extension of the urban renewal plan for Brooklyn and Curtis Bay. This is one of many neighborhood revitalizations that will come to South Baltimore, hopefully. This was started under the former Department of Planning, Southern Planner Brent Flickinger. And so this is just an opportunity for us to extend the URP so that we can incorporate more of the community involvement into the urban renewal plan so that it doesn't expire by the end of this year. Thank you, Mr. President.
No, thank you, Councilwoman Porter. At this point, are there any co-sponsors for this bill? This is a bill that we kind of look at as councilman courtesy. It's a bill that Councilwoman Porter is carrying just to kind of let the general public know and understand. It's not something that we don't support. We just support our councilwoman because she's the one leading the effort. So a lot of times those local specific district bills, just the person that represents that area carries the bill. So just for the knowledge of the general public watching and tuning in. This bill has been assigned to Economic and Community Development Committee. Next up, we'll go to 21-163, Madam Clerk.
City Council Bill 21-0163, Study and Report Evaluation of the Emergency Medical Services System. For the purpose of requiring the Baltimore City Fire Department to submit a report to the mayor and city council evaluating the department's current emergency medical services EMS delivery model and exploring the creation of an EMS bureau in the Baltimore City Fire Department and providing for a special effective date. Sponsor is Councilmember Burnett and Councilmember Dorsey.
Thank you. At this point, we recognize Councilman Burnett. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President and colleagues. So in 1999, the Greater Baltimore Committee brought together a work group of executive volunteers to review the management and efficiency of the Baltimore City Fire Department. And during those group meetings, a reoccurring theme continued to come up. Baltimore City needs more emergency medical resources. As we've heard recently from the fire chief and leaders of the fire unions, Baltimore City has one of the busiest EMS systems in the nation. Two contributing factors that impact the workload of the system are our aging population and systemic public health issues citywide. When the work group convened, the Baltimore Fire Department was operating with 18 full-time medic units, and 73% of the department calls for service were medical emergencies. Fast forward 22 years, and the fire department currently operates with 26 full-time medic units, while 85% of the incidents that they respond to are for medical emergencies. Despite the continuous increase in call volume for patient care, only 18% of the department's budget is allocated for EMS services. So as we continue to work to address health outcomes for our residents, we must ensure that the proper systems are in place to respond to their needs. And many times that begins with our emergency medical personnel. I appreciate my colleagues' support and look forward to thoughtful dialogue on the topic.
Thank you. At this point, are there any additional co-sponsors for Councilman Burnett? I see the hand raised of Councilwoman Ramos, Porter, Cohen, Torrance, and was that Bullock? As well as Bullock. Any additional? This bill has been assigned to Public Safety and Government Operations Committee. Now on to 21-164, Madam Clerk.
City Council Bill 21-0164, Decennial Fire and Emergency Medical Services Redistricting Plan, for the purpose of requiring the Baltimore City Fire Chief to prepare a decennial fire and emergency medical services redistricting plan, requiring the fire chief to present the plan to the mayor and city council, requiring the plan to be approved by resolution of the mayor and city council, allowing the mayor and city council to amend the plan under certain circumstances, and generally relating to redistricting the Baltimore City Fire Battalions and Emergency Medical Services Districts. Sponsors are Councilmember Burnett and Dorsey.
Thank you. At this point, I would like to call the sponsor of the bill, Councilman Burnett. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President and colleagues. So this bill is similar to legislation that was passed in Annapolis for our police department, which will require the fire department to evaluate the size of each fire battalion and EMS district every 10 years to ensure that we have the appropriate available resources to serve the needs of our communities. Last year, the fire chief proposed a plan to disband 2 fire companies to reduce overtime costs and to offset funds that were lost as a result of the pandemic. But this wasn't the first time that the proposed closures have occurred during budget shortfalls, and the practice of disbanding companies to save money dates back 30 plus years. The problem with this ad hoc process is that there is no methodology that goes into why these specific resources are cut. Very little consideration is given to the adverse impact these decisions will have on affected communities or how increased workload will contribute to employee burnout, which in turn can drive overtime costs back up due to personnel being out. The last time that the district lines were redrawn for fire suppression units was during the 1990s, and it's time that we put a process in place to updated population information, call volume data, and fire and EMS trends to make sure that our fire department is operating in the 21st century. With that, hand it back over. Thank you, Mr. President.
No, thank you, Councilman Burnett. At this point, are there any additional co-sponsors? I see the hand raised of Councilman Cohen, Councilwoman Porter, the Vice President, the gentleman in the 9th District, that's Councilman Bullock, Councilman Torrance. I believe that is it. This bill has been assigned to Public Safety and Government Operations as well. Now we're going to move into resolutions to be introduced. Madam Clerk, if you could please read in 21-64R.
City Council Resolution 21-0064R, Investigational Hearing, Urban Farming, for the purpose of inviting the city solicitor and representatives from the Office of the City Administrator, the Department of Housing and Community Development's Code Enforcement Division, the Baltimore City Health Department's Office of Animal Control, the Baltimore Police Department, the Environmental Control Board, the Department of Planning, and other relevant stakeholders to brief the City Council regard the standards, procedures, policies, and practices for regulating urban farms in Baltimore City, and to discuss possible revisions of current standards to allow urban farms to operate safely and successfully in Baltimore City. Sponsors are Councilmember Burnett and Dorsey.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. At this point, I would like to yield the floor to Councilman Burnett.
Thank you, Mr. President and colleagues. So this resolution and request for a hearing comes from conversations I've had with folks who engage in urban farming in my district. Some grow vegetables, some raise chickens, and all have expressed concerns about just an overall lack of clarity in regulation standards and procedures in which they have to follow to be in compliance with Baltimore City Code. So we thought it would be a very helpful opportunity for all parties to come together and have a productive discussion about what folks who want to produce food on their own and in their communities need to be able to thrive, as well as a conversation with folks on the agency side that are looking at things from a code enforcement perspective, animal control, and the work that they do to ensure the safety and wellness of animals in the city are also heard as well. And hopefully we can use this to come up with a set of ideas and potential ordinances to address those needs so that we can have a thriving urban farming space here in Baltimore City. Thank you, Mr. President.
No, thank you, Councilman Burnett. At this point, are there any additional co-sponsors on this resolution? I see the hand of Bullock, Madam Vice President, Cohen, Porter, Torrance. I believe that is it. This resolution has been assigned to Health, Environment, and Technology Committee. Madam Clerk.
You add me to it too, Mr. President. Sorry.
Thank you, Councilman Glover. We will add Councilman Glover onto that as well. And again, that resolution has been assigned to Health, Environment, and Technology Committee. Madam Clerk, now on to 21-65R.
City Council Resolution 21-0065R, investigative hearing, vacant residential properties requirement for homeowners insurance, for the purpose of inviting the Director of the Department of Housing and Community Development, the City Administrator, the City Solicitor, the Maryland Insurance Commissioner, the Baltimore City Comptroller, and the President and CEO of the Baltimore Development Corporation to testify regarding requiring owners of vacant residential properties to obtain homeowners insurance. Sponsors are Councilmember Burnett, Dorsey, and Ramos.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. At this point, I yield the floor to Councilman Burnett.
Thank you, Mr. President. So the intent of this informational hearing is to get better insight into the issues caused by those property owners who neglect the upkeep of their property and the deteriorating conditions that cause negative consequences for neighboring properties. Like in many of our districts, there are row houses, and oftentimes people may be living next to a vacant that is causing structural damage to their property. It's a call I've gotten a few times in my time in office where there was a collapsing porch or flooding issues, and often the property owner that's being affected does not feel like they have much recourse to be compensated for the damages. And so this was an idea that was tossed out as a potential solution. And if nothing else, a really good conversation starter for how we can better hold property owners accountable and help them with creative solutions to recover damages to their property at the hands of victims that are attached to them or nearby. So looking forward to a good conversation on this, Mr. President, and I give the floor. Thank you.
No, thank you. At this point, are there any additional co-sponsors on this resolution? I see the hand of, let me guess, Porter, Cohen, Bullock. No Torrance? Oh, Torrance. Hey, Torrance, I got it. Anyone else at this point? No, this resolution has been assigned to Economic and Community Development Committee. Now on to 21-66R, Madam Clerk.
City Council Resolution 21-0066R, approval for the exchange of a Class BD7 license to a Class A7 license, 1609 Lawrence Street, for the purpose of providing the required approval under Maryland Annotated Code, Alcoholic Beverages, Section 12902.1D1, to allow the license holder holding a valid Class BD7 beer, wine, and liquor license issued for the use at 1609 Lawrence Street, Baltimore, Maryland, 21217, to apply to the Board of Liquor License Commissioners for Baltimore City to exchange their Class BD7 beer, wine, and liquor license for a Class A7 beer, wine, and liquor license. Sponsor is Councilmember Bullock.
This resolution has been assigned to Economic and Community Development Committee. On to 21-67R, Madam Clerk.
City Council Resolution 21-0067R, approval for the exchange of a Class BD7 license to a Class A7 license for use at 3351 Greenmount Avenue for the purpose of providing the required approval under Maryland Annotated Code, Alcoholic Beverages, Section 12-902.1D1, to allow the license holder holding a valid Class BD7 beer, wine, and liquor license issued for use at 3351 Greenmount Avenue, Baltimore, Maryland, 21218, to apply to the Board of Liquor License Commissioners for Baltimore City to exchange their BD7 beer, wine, and liquor license for a Class A7 beer, wine, and liquor license. Sponsor is Councilmember Ramos.
This resolution has been assigned to Economic Community Development Committee. Now on to 21-68R, Madam Clerk.
City Council Resolution 21-0068R, informational hearing, naming city properties for the purpose of inviting the city solicitor and representatives from the Commission on Historical and Architectural Preservation, Department of Planning, Department of Transportation, Department of General Services, Baltimore Development Corporation, Department of Recreation and Parks, and the Department of Real Estate to brief the City Council regarding the standards, procedures, practices, and policies for naming and renaming city property and the ceremonial naming of city streets, and to discuss possible revisions of current standards in light of national trends so that our standards better foster equity and unity. Sponsors are Vice President Middleton, Councilmember McCray.
Madam Vice President, I yield the floor to you.
Thank you, Mr. President. This resolution is being introduced in light of major controversy that has surmounted around the country regarding removal of statues and monuments and the naming of government facilities. Following the death of George Floyd, more than 90 Confederate monuments alone were taken down and moved from public spaces in 2020. There are many factors that were considered before removal. Nearly 2,100 Confederate symbols remain across America, however, including monuments, statues, placards, buildings, and public parks. This resolution will allow city agencies to discuss Baltimore's current process. This briefing will also help Baltimore to begin to look at and determine critical criteria to use when considering naming or renaming government facilities. We want to be vigilant in helping Baltimore to exemplify all that is good, fair, and just in this democracy that we live in. We want to foster equity, unity, and peace of mind. And I welcome any co-sponsors.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. At this point, are there any additional co-sponsors to this bill resolution? I see the hand of Councilwoman Ramos, Councilwoman Porter, Councilman Torrance, Councilman Bullock, Councilman Cohen, Councilman Burnett. I believe that is it. This resolution has been assigned to Economic Community Development. Now on to 21-69R, Madam Clerk.
City Council Resolution 21-0069R, investigative hearing, well-being of the transgender community in Baltimore, for the purpose of inviting representatives from the Mayor's Office, the Health Department, the Baltimore Police Department, Baltimore City Public Schools, the Mayor's Office of Homeless Services, the Mayor's Office of Employment Development, the Baltimore City Office of Equity and Civil Rights, the Baltimore City State's Attorney's Office, the Baltimore City Department of Social Services, the Maryland Department of Health, Behavioral Health System Baltimore, and other relevant stakeholders to update the council on services provided to and the general well-being of the transgender community in Baltimore City. Sponsors are Councilmember Burnett, McCray, and Dorsey.
Thank you. At this point, I'd like to yield the floor to Councilman Burnett. You've had a busy night, Councilman Burnett. The floor is yours.
Thank you, sir. Took a little break in the summer, but ready to roll. So this resolution is a continuation of conversation that we had in the last term with folks in the transgender community and the LGBTQ community about the need for resources, whether that be housing, employment. These are some of the most vulnerable people in our city, and we as a city have to do more to protect all of our citizens. And with this resolution came at the request of the executive director of Baltimore Safe Haven, who would note this past weekend experienced a tremendous amount of vandalism and a break-in at one of their shelters. So unfortunately, the timing could not be better to continue this conversation, because clearly we have a long way to go, as those folks were clearly targeted for who they are And we as a city have to absolutely step up. So this is a continuation of that work. And I look forward to a good hearing in the Health Committee. Thank you to all the co-sponsors, and thank you, Mr. President. I think I'm done for the night.
No, no, Councilman Burnett, thank you for your leadership on this issue. Are there any additional co-sponsors to add? I see Councilwoman Porter, Councilman Cohen, Councilwoman Ramos, Chairman Stokes, Councilman Torrance, Madam Vice President, and Chairman Conway.
Yes, can I'd like to be a co-sponsor on this one and the last one.
Got you. So if we could make the record reflect that Chairman Conway would like to be a co-sponsor on 21-69 as well as 21-69R as well as 21-68R. So that's Conway for 21-68R as well as 21-69R. Are there any additional co-sponsors for 21-69R? Hearing and seeing none, this resolution has been assigned to the Health, Environment, and Technology Committee. On to 21-70, Madam Clerk.
City Council Resolution 21-0070R, informational hearing, soil conservation in Baltimore City, for the purpose of inviting representatives from the Department of Planning, Department of Public Works, Department of Recreation and Parks, Office of Sustainability, Department of Housing and Community Development, Department of Transportation, and the Environmental Control Board to address their current roles in soil conservation and urban agriculture and servicing Baltimore City's farmers. Sponsor is Councilmember McCray.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Chairwoman McCray, the floor is yours if you would like to speak on behalf of this resolution.
Thank you, Mr. President. Urban agriculture is growing exponentially across our city, from Bliss Gardens, which is adjacent to Barber Park in Northeast Baltimore, to Conklin Street Garden in Southeast Baltimore. We continue to see the innovation and determination of our residents. Urban agriculture is dependent on soil conservation. Keeping our soil healthy and nutrient dense is essential to preserving our environment and empowering our trees, our plants, and our crops to flourish. It is crucial that the City Council receives a better understanding of our agency's roles in soil conservation in order to uplift urban agriculture and our farmers. I do look forward to a meaningful conversation regarding soil conservation within our city. Thank you.
No, thank you, Madam Chair. At this point, I'll take additional co-sponsors. I see the hand raised of Madam Vice President. I see Cohen, Bullock, Burnett, Ramos, Porter, Glover, Chairman Conway, as well as Council Member Torrance. This bill has been assigned to Health, Environment, and Technology Committee as well. Now on to 21-71R, Madam Clerk.
City Council Resolution 21-0071R, investigative hearing, developing a coordinated response to Baltimore City's overdose crisis. For the purpose of requesting the Baltimore City Administrator, the Commissioner of the Baltimore City Health Department, the Commissioner of the Baltimore Police Department, the Chief of the Baltimore City Fire Department, the Director of the Mayor's Office of Performance and Innovation, the Director of the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement, the Director of the Mayor's Office of Emergency Management, and the Director of the Department of Finance to come before the Baltimore City Council to provide a comprehensive briefing on the city's coordinated response to the current overdose crisis, how we can develop and implement an RxStat work group with our local healthcare partners, the use of mobile safe injection sites, the allocation of funding to distribute fentanyl test strips, and an examination of the prevention, diversion, and rehabilitation programs we have in place to save lives. Sponsor is Chairwoman McCray.
Chairwoman McCray, the floor is yours.
Again, thank you, Mr. President. The opioid epidemic has plagued our country, and Baltimore City has not been immune. This epidemic knows no bounds. It impacts all communities, regardless of race, gender, ethnicity, sexual orientation, or gender identity. In 2020, 954 individuals died as a result of opioid-related deaths. And between 2013 and 2019, our city saw a 271% increase in fatal overdoses. In 1994, former Mayor Kurt Schmoke won approval from the Maryland State Legislature exempting Baltimore City from certain drug paraphernalia laws and providing funding for the implementation of a needle exchange program. His efforts came after years and years of talking about the city's drug epidemic as a public health crisis. Now, while addiction still plagues our communities today, many of the interventions that were implemented in the past have proven to be critical life-saving measures that gave many of our residents who were facing addiction a second chance at a better quality of life. We know that addiction and overdoses are preventable, the treatment exists, and recovery is possible. As we continue to improve our response strategies and save lives, we must evaluate the effectiveness of our current systems and our capacity to model programs implemented in similar jurisdictions that have proven successful. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. At this point, are there any additional co-sponsors? I see the hand of Madam Vice President, Chairman Conway, Chairman Stokes. I see Bullock, Burnett, Cohen, Ramos, Glover, Torrance, as well as Porter. I believe that is everyone that I saw with their hand raised. Okay, so this resolution has been assigned to Public Safety and Government Operations. No. This bill has been assigned to Health, Environment, and Technology. Madam Clerk, on to 21-72R.
City Council Resolution 21-0072R, investigative hearing, district action plans, and focus patrols. For the purpose of inviting the Police Commissioner of the Baltimore Police Department to appear before the Baltimore City Council to discuss how the department can develop and implement district action plans as a system to manage the reduction of community crime, establish achievement or impact objectives that define desired outcomes, and monitor district-level strategies and tactics to evaluate shifting crime trends. Sponsors are Councilmember Conway, McCray, Porter.
Thank you. At this point, I would like to recognize Chairman Conway. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President. So this resolution is really an opportunity for us to get a bit more specific about our approach to crime, to pull in our commissioner of the police department to talk about what the plans are for each of our individual districts and understand what those metrics are that we're trying to achieve in each of those districts. So hopefully this will help us get a better understanding of what's going on in each one of our individual districts and not so much talk about crime on the broader level. Although that's helpful, I find it much more helpful, and I hope you guys find it much more helpful to have this discussion as well, to have the ability to have more local conversations about what's going on in districts so we can understand what our police department is doing about those local issues. Thank you.
No, thank you, Chairman Conway. At this point, I see the hand raised of Vice President Middleton, Councilman Bullock, Councilman Glover. I believe that's it. Councilman Torrance, Councilwoman Porter. I believe that is it. This resolution has been assigned to Public Safety and Government Operations. Now on to 21-73R, Madam Clerk.
City Council Resolution 21-0073R, recognizing October as National Bullying Prevention Month. For the purpose of recognizing October as National Bullying Prevention Month and calling on schools and organizations dealing with youth in Baltimore to do their part to bring awareness to the bullying crisis and work to end bullying. Sponsor is Chairman Schleifer.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Chairman Schleifer, the floor is yours.
Yeah, I'm going to try to keep it brief because my internet, Comcast is down in this area, so I'm using a hotspot for my phone to be on the meeting. But a national study revealed that 49% of students in grades 4 through 12 have experienced some form of bullying students who have been bullied are more likely to experience depression, anxiety, sleep difficulties, and academic problems. And so I wanted to thank the Bozemans for attending this council meeting and their foundation for giving a voice to so many that have been suffering in silence. And I really think that all the research I've done has pointed to the way to really end bullying and cyberbullying is to bring awareness. So what we're doing today really does go a long way. So thank you, Mr. President, and any colleagues who support this. And if you don't mind, I'd like to move it for immediate adoption.
Without objection to the rules being suspended, we'll go and move this for immediate adoption. Hearing and seeing none, the rules are suspended. Chairman Schleifer, the floor is yours.
I'd like to move this resolution favorable.
The clerk will call the roll.
President Mosby, Councilmember Cohen,
Aye.
McCray,
Yes.
Dorsey,
Yes.
Conway,
Aye.
Schleifer,
Yes.
Middleton,
Yes.
Torrance,
Was I supposed to second that? I'm not sure, just to kind of go back, because I want to make sure we do this right. So you moved the resolution, but I do not believe I called for a second. And just to make sure that everything is in accordance with our procedures, I'm just going to go back real quickly. I'm not sure if we have to do that for resolutions, but we're just going to do it just to make sure. So there was a motion that was made by Chairman Schleifer. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, so it was moved and it was properly seconded. Now, Madam Clerk, if we could go into the roll. If we could start.
President Mosby,
Aye.
Councilmember Cohen,
Aye.
McCray, Dorsey,
Yes.
Yes.
Conway,
Aye.
Schleifer,
Yes.
Middleton,
Yes.
Torrance,
Yes.
Burnett,
Yes.
Bullock,
Aye.
Porter,
Aye.
Dello,
Aye.
Stokes,
Yes.
Glover,
Yes.
Ramos.
Yes.
The motion is approved. The resolution is adopted. Thanks for walking us through that, Madam Clerk. Now we're going to go to 21-75R, House America Pledge.
City Council Resolution 21-0075R, House America Pledge, for the purpose of announcing that Baltimore City proudly joins House America and pledges to respond with urgency to homelessness and housing insecurity in our community by setting and achieving ambitious rehousing goals, creating pathways to homeownership, and addressing the impact of the racial wealth gap on housing inequality. Sponsors are President Mosby, Vice President Middleton, Chair Costello, Chair McCray, and Chair Stokes.
I see the hand of Chairman Schleifer. You just want to be added on?
Yes.
Okay, I got Schleifer. I have Chairman Conway. I see Glover. I see Bullock. I see Ramos. I see Cohen. I see Burnett. I see Torrance. I see Porter. Is that it? Thank you for the co-sponsorships. This is a cohort that Baltimore City was able to get in with the U.S. HUD Department. This is an initiative that is been pushed by Secretary Fudge. We had the ability, myself and the mayor, to sit down with the deputy secretary 2 weeks ago. As you guys know, when we started out, one of the first major legislative packages of the 73rd Council was going after housing insecurity. We've been able to pass some very substantive pieces of legislation in that housing insecurity package. One was Just Cause, and then the security bill that we were able to pass a few weeks back that the mayor just recently signed into law. That was the reason that we were able to get into the cohort. It's the ability of the city of Baltimore sharing best practices, sharing legislation, sharing data with several other cities throughout the country. I believe the list is about 20 to 25 cities at this point. But I think that this is moving us in the right direction, particularly as it relates to the residual effect of COVID-19 as it not only plays trauma to us physically, but also the economic impact that it will have on our communities. We know at the core of that is housing, be it as it relates to homelessness and all the way up to affordable housing for folks to create generational wealth. So puts us in line with so many other cities. I'm thankful for the sponsors, the co-sponsors, as well as for the leadership of the president, as well as HUD Secretary Fudge for moving in this direction. At this time, I would like to move to suspend the rules to proceed with immediate adoption. Without objection of the rules, we will suspend them. Hearing and seeing no objections, the rules are suspended. At this time, I'd like to move the resolution to be adopted. Is there a second?
Second.
So it's been moved and properly seconded. All those in favor, actually, we're gonna have to take roll because we're doing immediate adoption. So Madam Clerk, if you could please go through the roll.
President Mosby,
Aye.
Councilmember Cohen,
Yes.
McCray,
Yes.
Dorsey,
Yes.
Conway,
Aye.
Schleifer,
Yes.
Middleton,
Yes.
Torrance, Burnett,
Yes.
Bullock,
Aye.
Porter,
Aye.
Jello,
Aye.
Stokes, Glover,
Yes.
Ramos.
Yes.
The motion is approved. The resolution is adopted. I've talked to each and every one of you about this individually, but also said it several times collectively. Normally, I'm not a fan of us throwing resolutions over the wall, telling the president of the United States to do this, or Congress to do that, or the governor to do this. But this is a little different. This is about partnership. So this is a pledge that they develop, that they asked the cohort and their sister cities to kind of work on and sponsor it through their own legislative bodies. And that's the process that we took with this particular resolution. Just want to make sure we were all on the same page and understanding and knowing what that pledge was. So at this point, we're going to move into the consent calendar. You can find the consent calendar in section A. I'm sorry.
We have one more bill.
We have another bill?
21-0075R.
No, that's what we just did.
No,
How's America?
no, that was 74R.
Is that wrong or really wrong? Are you looking at an old agenda or do I have a?
I think you have an old one. There was one sent out right before the hearing. The last one is Global Warming Solutions, Carbon Neutral City.
So we do have it? Yeah, you're right. All right, so for the record, guys, okay, guys, so for the record, we have, we just read in 21-0074R as House America Pledge. That was immediately adopted. And now we're going to read in 21-7R, which is Global Warming Solutions, Carbon Neutral City. That was a late addition. Madam Clerk, do you have that on your agenda? To read that in?
I do. One moment.
All right, so if you could read in 21-007R, Madam Clerk.
21-0075R, Global Warming Solutions Carbon Neutral City, for the purpose of calling on the Mayor, the Baltimore City Council, the Baltimore City Administrator, the Baltimore Office of Sustainability, and the Baltimore Commission on Sustainability to take all necessary actions to make Baltimore a carbon neutral city by 2050. Sponsor is Chairman Conway.
Chairman Conway, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is the last of our, well, maybe not the last, just the last for today. Last of our four initial bills around the environment and climate change. This is a companion bill in many ways to the city ordinance to achieve a carbon neutrality by 2050. This speaks more broadly to the city of Baltimore and the actions that we need to take to achieve this as a city. And urges the mayor and the city administrator to do everything in their power to help us get there. I'd really like to have this conversation so we can really better understand some of the low-hanging fruit and maybe some of the more difficult conversations about what it'll take for us to get there as a city, knowing that this is something that's not really an option. So I really look forward to the support of my colleagues and a vibrant discussion about what the future of the city looks like. Thank you.
No, thank you, Chairman Conway. Thank you for your leadership in this and ensuring that we corrected the record to read this in appropriately. Being a carbon neutral city is critically important, like you said, not for us, but definitely for our children and definitely for our children's children. So we appreciate all your leadership at this point. Are there any additional co-sponsors for 21-75R? I see the hand raised of Cohen, Porter, Burnett, Bullock, Ramos, Madam Vice President. And I believe that is it. This resolution has been assigned to the Health, Environment, and Technology Committee. Now we are moving on to the consent calendar. You can find the consent calendar in Section A at the back of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent calendar?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. All those in favor of approving the consent calendar, please say aye.
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 All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. The motion carries. The calendar is approved. We will now move to bills on second reader. At this point, I would like to recognize Chairman Costello.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that we read short titles for second and third reader for the duration of the meeting.
Unless we hear any concerns, we will be reading short titles for the duration of the meeting. Hearing and seeing no dissent from doing that, we will be on short titles for the remainder of the meeting. The first committee I would like to go to is Economic Community Development. Madam Clerk, if you could read in Council Bill 21-79 for second reader.
Council Bill 21-0079, repeal of Ordinance 90-425, Port Covington Planned Unit Development.
At this point, I would like to recognize the Vice President of the Baltimore City Council, Sharon Green Middleton.
Thank you, Mr. President. This bill was heard on September 21st, 2021. Findings of fact should be in your packet. I move findings of fact.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second to move the findings of facts. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. The findings of facts are moved. Madam Vice President, the floor is yours.
I move the bill favorable.
Second.
It's a motion on the floor to move the bill. It's been properly seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All those
Aye.
opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. The bill is approved and will be printed for third reading. Now on to 21-89, Madam Clerk.
Council Bill 21-0089, city property, naming the property located at Ward 6, Section 9, Block 1318, Lot 2, also known as 199 North Caroline Street, to be the Dante Barksdale Square.
At this point, I would like to recognize Vice President Green Middleton.
The
Floor is
committee
yours.
heard this bill on September 21st, 2021. I move the bill favorable.
It's been moved. Do I hear a second?
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. All those in favor of moving this bill, please say aye.
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 All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. This bill is this bill is approved and will be printed for third reading. Next up is Council Bill 21-105, Madam Clerk.
Council Bill 21-0105, RPP Area 26, Campbell Lane Revision.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. At this point, I would like to recognize Madam Vice President. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President. The committee heard this bill on September 21st, 2021. There is a technical amendment for this bill. I move the amendment.
There's a technical amendment, motion on the floor for it to move
Second.
forward. There's a second.
Second.
I've heard a second, so it's been moved and properly seconded. All those in favor of approving the committee amendment, please say aye.
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 All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. The amendment is adopted. Madam Vice President, the floor is yours.
And I move this bill favorable as amended.
There's a motion on the
Second.
floor. Is there a second? I've heard a second. It's been moved and properly seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. This bill is approved as amended. On to Education, Workforce, and Youth Committee. We're going to take up Council Bill 21-57R, Madam Clerk, if you could read it in.
Council Bill 21-0057R, Investigative Hearing, School Performance Improvement.
At this point, I would like to recognize the Chair of the Committee, Chairman Stokes. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Education, Workforce, and Youth Committee held a hearing on September the 23rd. We had a good meeting talking about the school performance improvement because we know since COVID, our young people have not been making the grades in education. So I recommend this favorable. And can I just say something else? Mr. President, decided to vote this out so we can have quarterly meetings with all the council and the committee so we can have a more robust, kind of transparent kind of conversation. So the reason why I was voted out, because we're going to start having the quarterly meetings, and I want to thank my committee members for supporting it also. Thank you.
No, thank you, Mr. Chair. So there's a motion on the floor to approve. Is there a second? It's been moved and properly seconded. All those in favor of adopting this resolution, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. The resolution is adopted. We're going to turn over now to Public Safety and Government Operations. Madam Clerk, if you could read in Council Bill 21-155.
Council Bill 21-0155, Administrative Procedure Act revisions.
At this point, I would like to recognize the Chair of PSO, Chairman Conway. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President. PSGO met on this bill and voted out on September 29th, 2021. It was sponsored by Councilmember Ryan Dorsey, and the committee approved the bill as favorable. I move the bill as favorable.
There's a motion on the floor to move the bill as favorable. Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. All those in favor of moving this bill favorably, please say aye.
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 All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. The bill is approved and will be printed for third reading. Did you want to do the same day advancement, Chair, or are you okay with moving on to the next meeting? I thought you were attempting to do the same day, but if not.
Yes.
I'll defer to the sponsor, Councilman Dorsey. Did we need to move this same day?
Yeah, this was time sensitive, I believe. So what we're going to do, yeah, this is time sensitive. So what we're going to do, we just approved it for second. So Chairman Conway, if you could ask to invoke Council Rule 12-1 for same day advancement from second to third reading, and then we'll roll it over to third reading.
Mr. President, I'd like to invoke Council Rule 12-1 to move to same day reading from second to third reader.
There's a motion on the floor to invoke 12-1. Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Those opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. It's been moved in second and it's been approved. At this point, Madam Clerk, if you could call roll. We've invoked Council Rule 12-1 for same day advancement from second to third reader.
President Mosby, Councilmember Cohen, McCray, Dorsey, Conway, Schleifer, Middleton, Torrance, Burnett, Bullock, Porter, Costello, Stokes, Glover, Ramos.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. The ayes have it. We will pick up this bill on third reader today and vote this out today. Now on to rules and oversight. Madam Clerk, if you could read in EA 21-49.
A 21-0049, Yosef Kabidi, Bureau Head, Bureau of Water and Wastewater, Baltimore City Department of Public Works.
At this point, I'd like to recognize the Chair of Rules and Oversight, Chairman Schleifer. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Rules and Legislative Oversight Committee heard EA 21-0048 on September 30th. And we would like to move Yosef Kabidi, Bureau Head of Water and Wastewater, favorable.
Madam Clerk, do we have that as 48 or 49? I think the chair just said it was 48. I want to make sure we read it in.
49.
It's 4.
I have 21-0049.
Yeah, I had it as 48, so I just wanted to clarify that.
Can we look up? It's published as 4-9. So, Mr. Chair, just to we're gonna read it in as 21-0049.
Okay.
All right. So we've already read it in. She read it in appropriately. You've put a motion on the floor for this bill, which is EA 21-49, correct?
Correct. Yes.
Right. So we put that motion in. Is there a second?
Second.
So it's been moved and properly seconded. All those in favor of approving this nomination, please say aye.
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 All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. This nomination is approved. Madam Clerk, on to 21-93.
Council Bill 21-0093, revising whistleblower rights and responsibilities.
Mr. President, you're muted.
Mr. President, you're on.
Thank you. So for the general public, if you didn't hear, if it was a little choppy, we're talking about Council Bill 21-0093, revising whistleblower rights and responsibilities. At this point, I would like to recognize the Chair of Rules and Oversight, Chairman Schleifer.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Rules and Legislative Oversight Committee held a hearing on 21-0093, and we'd like to move the bill favorable.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. All those in favor of moving the bill favorably, please say aye.
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 All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. This bill is approved and will be printed for third reading. At this point, we're going to move on to Ways and Means, Council Bill 21-41.
Council Bill 21-0041, Board of Estimates, Basic Organization and Procurement Thresholds.
At this point, I would like to recognize Chairman Costello.
Thank you, Mr. President. The committee held a hearing on this bill. There are amendments on my colleagues' desks. I move the amendments.
There's a motion to move the amendments.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. The amendments are adopted. At this point, I turn the floor back over to Chairman Costello.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the bill favorably as amended.
The bill has been moved. Do I hear a second?
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. All those in favor of approving this bill as amended, please say aye.
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 All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. The bill is approved as amended. Now, Madam Clerk, on to Bill 21-99.
Council Bill 21-0099, Study and Report, Tax Sale Accounting.
At this point, I would like to recognize Chairman Costello. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President. The committee held a hearing on this bill. I move the bill favorably.
It's been a motion to move the bill favorably. Is there a second?
Second.
This bill's been moved and properly seconded. All those in favor of approving this bill, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. The bill is approved and will be printed for third reading. Now on to Council Bill 21-58, Madam Clerk.
Council Bill 21-0058, Real Property Tax Installment Plan.
At this point, I would like to recognize the Chair of Ways and Means, Chairman Costello. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President. The committee held a hearing on this bill. There are amendments on our colleagues' desks. I move the amendments.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. All those in favor of moving these amendments, please say aye.
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 All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. The amendments are adopted. Back to you, Chairman Costello.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the bill favorably as amended.
Second.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second to advance this bill as amended. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. This bill is approved as amended. Bills on third reading. We turn to bills for third reading for final passage that require invocation of City Council Rule 12-1 for same-day advancement. The clerk will read the bill and then call the roll. First up is 21-155. That's the Administrative Procedure Act. That is time sensitive. That was a bill that Chairman Conway, I was going to get to your name, Conway invoked 12-1. So Madam Clerk, if you could read in 21-155 for us.
21-0155, Administrative Procedure Act revisions. President Mosby. Councilman Cohen.
Aye.
Gray. Dorsey. Conway.
Aye.
Schleifer. Middleton. Torrance. Burnett. Bullock.
Aye.
Porter.
Aye.
Costello.
Aye.
Stokes.
Yes.
Glover.
Aye.
Ramos.
Aye.
The bill is approved. Now we're going to turn to the regular bills on third reading. Madam Clerk, if you could read in 21-0054.
21-0054, rezoning 605 South Canton Avenue. President Mosby. Councilmember Cohen. McCray. Dorsey. Conway. Schleifer. Middleton. Torrance. Burnett. Bullock. Porter. Costello. Stokes. Glover. Ramos.
This bill is approved. On to 21-76, Madam Clerk.
21-0076, zoning conditional use conversion of a single-family dwelling unit to 2 dwelling units in the R8 zoning district variance 1049 Brantley Avenue. President Mosby. Councilmember Cohen. McCray. Dorsey. Conway. Schleifer. Middleton. Torrance. Burnett. Bullock. Porter. Costello. Stokes. Glover. Ramos.
This bill is approved. Now on to 21-103, Madam Clerk.
21-0103, Suicide Prevention Coordinator Establishment. President Mosby. Councilmember Cohen. McCray. Dorsey. Conway. Schleifer. Middleton. Torrance. Burnett. Bullock. Porter. Costello. Stokes. Glover. Ramos.
This bill is approved. Now, and our final bill on third reading, 21-104, Madam Clerk.
21-0104, Baltimore City Work Group on Women in Public Safety. President Mosby. Councilmember Cohen. McCray. Dorsey. Conway. Schleifer. Middleton. Torrance. Burnett. Bullock. Porter. Costello. Stokes. Glover. Ramos.
This bill is approved. We will go to committee announcements. Chairs, when you hear committee call, please proceed with any relevant announcements. First up, we're going to go to Madam Vice President and Economic and Community Development. Chair, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to suspend Rule 10-2 to announce a hearing for Bill 21-0059R.
Without objection, rules will be suspended, 10-2 or 10-3 to announce the hearing. Hearing and seeing none, the rules are suspended. Madam Vice President, the floor is yours.
The Economic and Community Development Committee will hold this virtual hearing on 10/26/21 at 2 p.m. And again, that's bill number 21-0059R. Sponsor Councilman Bullock. It's the approval for exchange of a Class BD7 license to a Class A7 license 604 Popular Grove Street. I would also like to suspend Rule 10.2 to announce a hearing for Bill number 21-0060R.
Without objection, we will suspend Rule 10-2. Hearing none, seeing none, the rule is suspended. Madam Vice President, the floor is yours.
I would like to have a hearing again on 10/26/21 at 2:05 p.m. Bill number 21-0060R. Councilman Bullock, approval of for the exchange of a Class BD7 license to a Class A7 license, 1901 Edmondson Avenue. Mr. President, I would like to suspend Rule 10.2 and 10.3 to announce a hearing for Bill 21-0066R.
Now we're looking to suspend waive Council Rule 10-2 as well as 10-3 for Council 21-66R. Without any objections, the rules will be suspended. Hearing and seeing none, the rules are suspended. Madam Vice President, the floor is yours.
And that hearing date is 10/26/21 at 2:10 p.m. And again, it's bill number 21-0066R. Councilman Bullock, sponsor. And that's approval for the exchange of a Class BD7 license to a Class A7 license, and that's 1609 Lawrence Street. Mr. President, I would like to suspend the rules 10.2 and 10.3 to announce a hearing for bill number 21-0067R.
Nope, all your suspensions are up. No more suspensions for you, Madam Vice President. As Madam Vice President stated, for 21-67R, she would like to suspend rules 10-2 and 10-3. Without objections, we will suspend the rules. Hearing and seeing no objections, the rules are suspended. Madam Vice President, the floor is yours.
Thank you. And that hearing will also be on 10/26/21 at 2:15 p.m. Again, it's 21-0067R. Councilwoman Ramos is sponsor, and that's approval for the exchange of a Class BD7 license to a Class A7 license for use at 3351 Greenmont Avenue. And that covers all of those approvals for exchange. But I also would like to have a hearing on 10/26/21 at 2:20 p.m. And that's bill number 21-0108. And that's sponsor Councilman Bullock, and that's city property renaming James Moser Elementary School to Billie Holiday Elementary School. Thank you, Mr. President.
No, thank you, Madam Vice President. Next up, we're going to turn to Education, Workforce, and Youth. Chairman Stokes, the floor is yours.
Mr. President, I don't have no committee hearings, but you said announcements. Can I just do that also? Or this is
Yes, sir. The floor is yours.
Okay, on tomorrow at 4 p.m., along with the Ravens and PCs for People in Warren Gateway, we will be distributing laptops. We know we had, let me go back. We know we have a food desert, we have a bank desert. We also have a digital desert. So tomorrow at 4 o'clock, along with the Ravens, PCs for People in Warren Gateway, we will be distributing laptops at Cecil Elementary School. Also down in the future, it will be at Greenmount Rec Center, Chickweb, Oliver, Madison, and Carlton Square. We will be working with the Ravens and PC People. So tomorrow will be our first event.
I didn't know you were going to slip a regular announcement into committee.
That's what I was asking you. That's why. Okay. All right.
Well,
Sorry.
Next time you do that, make sure you bring some of them gifts over to West Baltimore. I heard all those East Baltimore rec centers.
Okay. I got you.
No, if for the general public, Chairman Stokes, just say the rec center location and time again.
4 p.m. at the Cecil Rec Center at Kirk Avenue and East 22nd Street. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you for your leadership, Mr. Chair. Next up, we're going to turn to Health, Environment, and Technology. Chairwoman McCray, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to suspend Rule 10.3 to announce a hearing.
Without objection, we will suspend Rules 10.3 for Madam Chair. Hearing and seeing none, the rules are suspended. The floor is yours, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Health, Environment, and Technology Committee will hold a WebEx virtual hearing on Wednesday, November 10th, 2021 at 10:01 a.m. on Resolution 21-0070R, Informational Hearing, Soil Conservation in Baltimore City. Mr. President, I move to suspend Rule 10.3 to announce a hearing.
Thank you, Madam Chair. At this point, Madam Chair would like to suspend Rules 10-3 to announce a hearing. Without objections, the rules will be suspended. Hearing and seeing none, the rules are suspended. The floor is yours, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Health, Environment, and Technology Committee will hold a WebEx virtual hearing on Wednesday, November 17th, 2021 at 10 a.m. on Resolution 21-0071R, investigative hearing developing a coordinated response to Baltimore City's overdose crisis. Mr. President, I move to suspend Rule 10.3 to announce an additional hearing.
Nope, your time's up too, just like Council Vice President. No, so 10-3, the chair has asked to suspend without objections. We will suspend the rules. 10-3. Hearing and seeing none, Madam Chair, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Health, Environment, and Technology Committee will hold a WebEx virtual hearing on Wednesday, November 17, 2021 at 10:01 a.m. on Resolution 21-0069R, investigative hearing well-being of the transgender community in Baltimore. Thank you.
No, thank you, Madam Chair. Next committee we're going to go to is PSO, Public Safety Government Operations. Chair Conway, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Public Safety and Government Operations Committee will be meeting on Wednesday, October 13th, 2021 to hear Bill 21-0063R, Informational Hearing and Evaluation of the Deferred Retirement Option Program as a Retention Strategy for Fire and Police Personnel. This bill was sponsored by Councilmember Schleifer, and it was introduced initially on September 20th, 2021. The committee will also be hearing Bill 21-005R on Wednesday, October 27th, 2021. Oh, excuse me. I'm going to go back. We'll be hearing that initial bill, 21-0063R, at 1:02 p.m. virtually. 21-0055R we'll be hearing on Wednesday, October 27th, 2021 at 1 p.m. virtually. The informational hearing holding gun offenders accountable. This was sponsored by Councilmember Stokes, and it was introduced initially on August 16th, 2021. And permission to suspend Rule 10-2 and 10-3 to announce a hearing.
Without objections, Chairman Conway is asking to suspend 10-2 and 10-3. Hearing and seeing no objections, 10-2 and 10-3 is now suspended. Chairman Conway, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President. The committee will be coming together here to hear Bill 21-0072R on Wednesday, October 27th, 2021 at 1:01 p.m. virtually. Investigative hearing, district action plans, and focus patrols. And finally, the Public Safety and Government Operations Committee will be meeting to hear LO 21-0015, Baltimore City Fire Department EMS stat and operations on Wednesday, November 10th, 2021 at 1 p.m. virtually. And this was sponsored by myself, and it was introduced today. Thank you, Mr. President.
No, thank you, Mr. Chair. At this point, we're going to go to Rules and Legislative Oversight. Chairman Schleifer, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have no announcements tonight.
Thank you, Chairman Schleifer. And then last but certainly not least, we'll go to Ways and Means, Chairman Costello.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Ways and Means Committee will hold a hearing on Tuesday, October 19th, 10 a.m. virtually on Council Bill 21-0112, Charter Amendment Supplementary Criminal Apprehension and Conviction Fund, at the request of Councilman Schleifer and Bullock.
Is that it?
Mr. President. Yeah, oh, no. Gonna make a Snickers bar joke. The Ways and Means Committee will hold 28 hearings on Tuesday, October 12th, virtually.
Do you have to read all 28 tonight?
Think I do, but I would love if someone told me that I didn't.
No, we haven't gotten that approved yet, so you're gonna have to read them all in.
10:15 a.m., 21-0126, Supplementary General Fund Operating Appropriation Board of Elections in the amount of $600,000. 10:16 a.m., 21-0127, Supplementary General Fund Operating Appropriation, Department of General Services in the amount of $600,000. 10:17 a.m., 21-0128, Supplementary General Fund Operating Appropriation, Department of General Services in the amount of $12,383.02. 10:18 a.m., 21-0129, Supplementary General Fund Operating Appropriation, Department of General Services in the amount of $3.1 million. 10:19 a.m., 21-0130, Supplementary General Fund Operating Appropriation, Department of Health in the amount of $8,933,951.06. 10:20 a.m., Supplementary General Fund Operating Appropriation, Department of Health, that's Council Bill 21-0131 in the amount of $22,620,168. 10:21 a.m., Council Bill 21-0132, Supplementary General Fund Operating Appropriation, Department of Health, in the amount of $15.2 million. 10:22 a.m., Council Bill 21-0133, Supplementary General Fund Operating Appropriation, Department of Housing and Community Development in the amount of $4.3 million. 10:23 a.m., Council Bill 21-0134, Supplementary General Fund Operating Appropriation, Department of Planning in the amount of $7.1 million. 10:24 a.m., Council Bill 21-0135, Supplementary General Fund Operating Appropriation, Department of Planning, $5,107,240. 10:25 a.m., Council Bill 21-0136, Supplementary General Fund Operating Appropriation, Department of Public Works in the amount of $600,000. 10:26 a.m., Council Bill 21-0137, Supplementary General Fund Operating Appropriation, Department of Public Works, $1,630,015.63. 10:27 a.m., Council Bill 21-0138, Supplementary General Fund Operating Appropriation, Fire Department in the amount of $2.35 million. 10:28 a.m., Council Bill 21-0139, Supplementary General Fund Operating Appropriation, Fire Department in the amount of $114,009. 10:29 a.m., Council Bill 21-0140, Supplementary General Fund Operating Appropriation, Fire Department in the amount of $12,684,471.33. 10:30 a.m., Council Bill 21-0141, Supplementary General Fund Operating Appropriation, Liquor License Board in the amount of $104,264.17. 10:31 a.m., Council Bill 21-0142, Supplementary General Fund Operating Appropriation, Mayoralty, in the amount of $50,304.90. 10:32 a.m., Council Bill 21-0143, Supplementary General Fund Operating Appropriation, Mayoralty related, Civic Promotion, in the amount of $5 million. 10:33 a.m., Council Bill 21-0144, Supplementary General Fund Operating Appropriation, Mayoralty related, Convention Center Hotel, in the amount of $2.5 million. 10:34 a.m., Council Bill 21-0145, Supplementary General Fund Operating Appropriation, Mayoralty related, Convention Complex, in the amount of $1,499,509.74. 10:35 a.m., Council Bill 21-0146, Supplementary General Fund Operating Appropriation, Mayoralty related, Educational Grants in the amount of $4 million. 10:36 a.m., Council Bill 21-0147, Supplementary General Fund Operating Appropriation, Mayoralty related, Miscellaneous General Expenses in the amount of $7,002,637.06. 10:37 a.m., Council Bill 21-0148, Supplementary General Fund Operating Appropriation, Mayoralty related, Office of Children and Family Success, $7,383,200 $249.
Mr. President, Councilman Costello.
Yes.
There's a message from Marguerite asking you to suspend the rules on these announcements before you get too far in.
I'm about 24 out of 28 in, but
Sorry.
You saw it. Was that an email?
In the chat.
Mr. President, if it's all right with you and your legislative director, if I continue reading and then ask for suspension of the rules to announce those hearings as aforementioned, would that be appropriate?
Let me talk to the parliamentarian.
In the meantime, if it's okay, Mr. President, I'll continue to.
Chairman Costello, if you could finish out the last four, and then I'm gonna make sure everybody is okay and comfortable and aware of what we're going to do, and then you can do your aforementioned Robert Rules of Order statement, and then we'll go from there. All right.
Thank you, Mr. President. 10:38 a.m. Council Bill 21-0149, Supplementary General Fund Operating Appropriation, Mayoralty Related, Office of Information and Technology in the amount of $857,509.37. 10:39 a.m. Council Bill 21-0150, Supplementary General Fund Operating Appropriation, Mayoralty Related, Office of the Inspector General in the amount of $400,000. 10:40 a.m. Council Bill 21-0151, Supplementary General Fund Operating Appropriation, the Police Department in the amount of $6.5 million. 10:41 a.m. Council Bill 21-0152, Supplementary General Fund Operating Appropriation, State's Attorney's Office in the amount of $638,963.67. And finally, 10:42 a.m. Council Bill 21-0153, Supplementary General Fund Operating Appropriation, Mayoralty Related, Employees Retirement Contribution, $35,500,000. Mr. President, I wait your direction here.
So we just read in the 28 supplementary bills that we heard last meeting. The chair of Ways and Means read each one in to provide a hearing date and time for those. We think that we need to suspend rules 10-2, and we're going to also throw in 10-3. So what we're going to do is I want to make sure all council members understand and know what we're doing here. We're all on the same page. Okay, so for all 28 hearing dates and times that the chair just read in, he's going to also ask that rules 10-2 and 10-3 be suspended associated with them, because he didn't read that suspension in for every single bill. So we're going to package all 28 up together right now. And he's going to ask that the rules be suspended to ensure that we can proceed with those dates and times that he just mentioned. We're on the same page, right? All right.
Mr. President, I'm going to ask for roll call on that motion just to make sure everyone's on to confirm what you said, Mr. President. So at this time, I'd like to move Council Rules 10-2 and 10-3 to announce the hearing of the 28 aforementioned bills. And if there's a second, I'd like to call for roll call. Thank you, Mr. President.
Second.
Okay, so there's a motion and it's been properly seconded on the floor for us to waive rules 10-2 as well as 10-3 for the 28 aforementioned bills that Chairman Costello just read in. So it's been moved and properly seconded to ensure that we're all on the same page and understand and know the procedures in which we just enacted. We're going to do a roll call. So Madam Clerk, if you could please call the roll.
President Mosby.
Aye.
Councilmember Cohen. McCray.
Yes.
Dorsey.
Yes.
Conway.
Aye.
Schleifer.
Yes.
Middleton.
Yes.
Torrance. Burnett.
Yes.
Bullock.
Aye.
Porter. Aye. Costello.
Aye.
Stokes.
Yes.
Glover.
Yes.
Ramos.
Yes.
That was 15 votes in affirmative. That motion passes. So we understand and know that the package of the 28 supplemental bills that Chairman Costello read in, that we provided him the ability to provide those dates and times associated with those council hearings for the 28 bills. At this point, Councilman Costello, the floor is still yours. Do you have any additional meeting announcements?
Two things first, Mr. President, colleagues, bless your hearts for not making me read all 28 of those again. I do appreciate it.
We were tempted to do so. I have several text messages from council members begging me to force you to read them in again, but we decided not to. We spared you tonight, Councilman.
Appreciate your kindness. Finally, Mr. President, the Ways and Means Committee, if we do not hear all 28 of those on October 12th, we will be reconvening on Tuesday, October 19th. This is more of just a heads up. We're not, required to announce this, but if we don't get through all 28, please plan on after the hearing on the 19th, we will get back to the supplementaries. Thank you, Mr. President.
No, thank you, Chairman Costello. At this point, we're going to move into regular announcements. Are there any regular announcements or names for Madam Vice President to add for our closeout? I think this might be the first meeting that we have not had one regular announcement. I have one. It's a very sad announcement. A young man by the name of Ian Wallace was a young student at Morgan State University. Unfortunately, died in a tragic accident. He was part of the Baltimore Polytechnic Institute three-peat basketball team, where he was an instrumental part in winning several games. A great kid, not only on the court, but even better kid off of the court. And, unfortunately, sometimes the best, the brightest, and our youngest with amazing talent and ability die early. And he definitely fits into that category. So if you could please remember to scream out the name Ian Wallace as it relates to your closeout announcements, Madam Vice President. At this point, I would like to recognize Madam Vice President.
The next meeting of the City Council will be held on Monday, October 18, 2021 at 5 p.m. virtually. And may we have a moment.
I'm sorry, Madam Vice President, but your sound went out.
And may we have a moment of silence for the family of Ian Wallace and also for the now 259 homicide victims to date, and also the 1,186 Baltimoreans that did not make it through this pandemic, and also for our continued opioid epidemic.
Thank you. There being no new business before the desk, this will conclude the 19th meeting of the 73rd term of your Baltimore City Council. Baltimore, we love you.